The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the tragic disappearance of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro, whose parents reported him abducted, but now mom and dad are locked up. Here's the story. Rebecca and Jake Haro have several children. The youngest is just 7 months old. His name is Emmanuel, and he is missing. Emmanuel's mom says she knows what happened. She was in the parking lot of a Big 5 sporting goods store and was trying to change the baby's diaper. That's when she says she was attacked by a man who said hola and then knocked her out cold. When she came to, Emmanuel was nowhere to be found. Investigators questioned Rebecca and confronted her about inconsistencies in her story. Meanwhile, Emmanuel's father, Jake, has a prior conviction of child cruelty back in 2018 when he abused his 10-week-old baby daughter. Rebecca and Jake have been arrested and taken into custody, charged with the murder of this little angel who has still not been found. This case is heartbreaking and frustrating both at the same time. You've got a mother and father who are locked up in custody, but you've got a child who is still missing. I want you to take a listen to the DA here talking about the search for baby Emanuel. I think this is a really significant statement that he makes.
There are professionals that are looking for the remains of this child. If the public has any information, then we ask for their help. So we don't know exactly where the remains are. We have some ideas in terms of where we're going to look and where we're going to continue to investigate. When you have members of the public that are out there doing their own searches, all it does is potentially prejudice and damage the case. So please, let the sheriff's departments do their job. They know how to do this, right? We're helping with them, anything they need from us, but they are the ones driving this investigation, and they will track down every lead. I have all the confidence in both of these great sheriffs and their great departments.
That was 21 days ago. 21 days ago, and basically telling the public to back off, don't look for baby Emmanuel. Now, I've covered dozens and dozens and dozens of stories like this, and sometimes the children or the moms or the dads or whoever is missing is never found. And one way they never get found is if no one's looking for them. Now, I trust that the men and women of these sheriff's departments are passionate and really good at their jobs. But it's been 21 days now, and baby Emanuel still hasn't been found. And to me, it's a little surprising and a little discouraging not wanting to use the public, if the public is willing to come forward and help. And that brings us to the first question in our investigation tonight. Will baby Emmanuel ever be found? I mean, that was 21 days ago when he said, don't look. People had been attempting to find this child because people feel so passionate about it. All right, I want to bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, who joins us tonight live from outside the Haro home in Cabazon, California. Matt, great to see you tonight. And to me, the one thing that has struck me about this case has been the reaction. Like, I get it on social media, but also locally, it has been intense. This community is invested in the story, wants to help find this child. What are you seeing and feeling tonight as you're in front of the home?
Yeah, you know, this is a community that's grieving for this missing child, missing baby Emanuel, just 7 months old when he was reported missing on August 14th. And since that time, we have been to the house many times, and this memorial growing. Let me show you what it looks like over my shoulder. You can see that there are signs, there are teddy bears, there are candles. This has been a growing memorial and vigil. There's flowers over here. It reads, "Baby Emmanuel, we love you and we pray for you. You get the justice you deserve, sweet baby boy. Justice for Emmanuel." That is really the message out here as we're looking at toys, dozens and dozens of plushies, angel wings toys, signs, just being placed out here by record number by people that are really searching for answers and wanting to help the community find this baby, but they're being told by sheriff's deputies to hold off and not search on their own. Vinny.
What's fascinating, Matt, is you start going through that memorial. We've seen, unfortunately, many of them. This is in a remote area, not a dense population. And to have that level of people and outpouring, to me, speaks volumes. Now, let's talk about the search. There was one search in one spot, and my understanding is that you went back to that spot today. Tell me about what you did today.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes, about 21 miles away from Cabazon, where we're located right here in the desert community, just outside of Palm Springs. This is also about 80 miles away from Los Angeles, to give you an idea, lay of the land. So we went to that search area. It's near the 60 freeway in Moreno Valley. I wanted to show you what it's like. Take a look. We are now off the busy 60 freeway in Southern California, Gelman Springs Road in Moreno Valley. This is potentially another crime scene. This is where Jake Haro was spotted with investigators after his arrest. He was in a jail jumpsuit. He was out here with deputies from San Bernardino County Sheriffs, along with cadaver dogs. They didn't find any remains, and deputies say he was not cooperating. But the questions are, what led investigators to this location, and will the baby ever be found? For those answers, we enlisted the help of retired special agent with the FBI, Bobby Chacon. So when I first came out here, initially I was like, there's a lot of traffic actually off the 60 freeway, but it's very remote and a lot of brush. Talk to me about the area.
Sure, you do see a lot of traffic here now because we're here midday, but you don't see any traffic lights, any street lights. There's no homes as far as you can see, and in the back behind us, you can see how rugged it is. It's hilly, it's desolate. There's not much here. Probably at night, this is probably very remote. You probably can't see anything here if your lights are off.
In your experience, would this be a good place to hide something?
I mean, this is a very good place to hide something because number one, access is not all that great. You can get here at night and not be seen. And it's just very remote. There's not a lot of people would walk through and stumble upon something you leave here, although there's probably a lot of wildlife here. So if you leave something that's going to decay and be, consumed by wildlife, that would probably happen.
Okay, so you mentioned wildlife. There's coyotes. There's other wildlife out here. Will the baby ever be located?
This is, at 7 months old, he's a very small child. Animals consume very voraciously here, so he could be consumed fairly easily and quickly, unfortunately. Things in this hot sun really decay quickly.
But would the cadaver dogs have picked that up? They were out here.
Sure, cadaver dogs would certainly pick up something like that. They were here, but also you can see how vast this area is. Unless they're right on the scent, and you can feel the wind blowing today, unless they're right on the scent, this is a vast area to search, even with dogs. So you have to have specific information that drives you here.
Jake Haro was brought out here by investigators, but it didn't appear that he was actively searching or participating. So why bring him out here?
That's a great question. Why they brought Jake Haro out here is still a mystery. The only reason that you normally see a person brought out is if they have information that's going to benefit you in your search. So that means the information would come from them. Other than that, if they had, say, electronic information, say his cell phone hit here and they analyzed the cell phone data, that could drive you here. But if he's not cooperating with the investigation, why bring him here? And really, you can't force someone in custody to come out to the field with you. He had to have agreed to come out. Now, he may have agreed and know he wasn't going to give them any kind of pertinent information, but you can't force somebody like that out here. So he was out here voluntarily, in a manner of speaking, but he during the course of that, he didn't look like he was directing him anywhere. In the footage that I saw, he wasn't pointing anywhere. He wasn't leading them anywhere. He was just kind of standing with the investigators.
So it's to get his reaction, maybe?
Maybe to get his reaction. I don't know. They brought him out here. Maybe if they thought he was close, he would kind of get emotional or break down. It is his son, after all. So, I mean, maybe that's what they were doing, but certainly it wasn't fruitful, whatever it was.
Do you think that he's maybe participating or being brought out to more searches? Investigators are being very tight-lipped as to where they're going next.
Yeah, that's kind of odd that they wouldn't have released the information that led them here. Because if it was really good information, you know, they often enlist the help of the community. You can have community, you got people out here searching. We've all seen that, you know, elbow to elbow, arm in arm, walking through woods, walking through areas like this, trying to find and help law enforcement. But for some reason, they did not do that in this case. So they either ruled out this area completely very quickly, or they're waiting to get further, more specific information to get them closer to a place, because it's so vast out here. Unless you have much more specific information, it's less than a needle in a haystack.
In your experience, you've taken part in a lot of investigations like this in your career as FBI. Where do you think they are now in their investigation? Where might they be looking next?
I think they're poring over the electronic data at this point, the cell phone data, the cell tower information, matching it up to that timeline when little baby Emmanuel disappeared, and they're trying to find out electronically those steps that they took. They probably have done all the interviews that they're going to do with friends and family and anybody else that was associated with this to find out, you know, if they knew anything, and they're matching that up. But right now, I think they're stuck, and I think they're probably trying to pour through that electronic data and come up with some kind of theory about where he might be.
And there's a lot of agencies involved in this search and recovery effort and this investigation. Both Riverside and San Bernardino counties are involved. It's San Bernardino County that is leading the charge with their investigation into the search for baby Emanuel. At this hour, they tell us that the search is ongoing and all of this still under investigation, Vinny.
All right, Matt Johnson's going to stick around right now, though. Let's bring in the founder of On the Tierra News, Ahmed Bellozo, our friend who's been covering this case on his TikTok platform and other places on social media. Ahmed, great to see you tonight. How are you feeling, first of all? You feeling good?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm out here actively working on another case, and so I took some time away from that. A lot of similarities, and I want to touch on some of that if you will allow me. But yes, I do feel good. Thank you, Vinny, for having me, and Court TV as well.
Okay, what are your thoughts tonight? Do you believe little Emanuel will ever be found?
Our hope, obviously, is that, yes, he will be found. Now, in what state is a different question altogether. We are thoroughly prepared now for the recovery portion of this investigation. Authorities are not telling us anything, and we continue with our leads, and the same way they're not telling us, we're not telling them neither.
Oh, expand on that a little bit, Ahmed. What do you mean?
Well, you know, it's been a month, as you said now, and we were so willingly helping and trying to share information, and it has become some sort of a slap in the face now that any information that we have now, we are trying to piece this case together ourselves. And when I talk about we, I'm talking about me.
So give me your reaction, and were you surprised when in that press conference they came out and they said, listen, we don't want the public searching for this child. I've covered dozens of these stories. You take me back to Orlando, Kaylee Marie Anthony is missing. I mean, the whole community was out. There were organized searches. Maya Miliete in San Diego, a missing mother of 3. The whole community coming together and searching. And here they're saying, don't search. Give me your reaction to that.
Well, as I said earlier, right now I'm working on the search for a missing person, Joseph Aranda, here in Victorville. And the police have been actively working on his case here in San Bernardino County. And the lead investigator has been on vacation for 3 weeks now. And we have new leads, and we can't even get them to him because he hasn't came back. And so we understand that, you know, things get lost in the shuffle due to time, and his vacation with his family was probably planned before what happened with Joseph Aranda here in Victorville. But we have no leads to talk to an a supervisor above him, and so right now we're waiting for. So they're telling us not to look, but he ain't looking. And so obviously in the Emmanuel case, we don't know who's looking. We don't know who's on vacation. We don't know what leads they have. And so if you're not going to tell us where we're at, then we're going to go out there and look for ourselves, because this man, and God bless him, the deputy from San Bernardino County, who's the lead investigator in this case of Joseph Aranda, is on vacation, and we can't get a hold of him. And we have active leads that work down in the riverbed right now today, because we're trying to find this man, and we have new leads, and we don't know who to give them to, because the San Bernardino County Sheriff won't call us back because they don't want our help. So it's like a catch-22. We're in a pickle. It's very frustrating. Emmanuel, I have new leads, bro. I have new leads. But who do I share it with? You two, so everybody can shred it up and destroy it? No. Yeah. And so I understand when people withhold information, because I have vital information right now regarding Jake, and we'll get into that. Obviously,
absolutely.
But
hold that thought, Ahmed. We got a commercial in here, but Ahmed Beloso staying with us. Coming up next, what is happening in the baby Emanuel case right now?
There's a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of people. A lot of people are involved. A lot of people are invested. A lot of people spent their money to come out here.
The Court TV podcast will return.
We're here to get justice. We're here to speak for Emmanuel because he wasn't able to speak for himself. So we're here, and we have his back, and we're ready to go. We're ready to fight. We're going to fight tooth and nail. We're going to get justice for Emmanuel.
Public wants justice for baby Emanuel. Everyone wants justice for baby Emanuel. They also want to find baby Emanuel. Let's bring back in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, who is live outside baby Emanuel's former home in Cabazon, California. Matt, who have you been able to speak to about the status of the case?
Yeah, none of the attorneys, none of the investigators, none of the agencies involved are talking. But the Riverside County District Attorney that made the official charges against Jake and Rebecca Haro last month, they did release a statement to Court TV that in part reads this about a pending possible plea deal. Let's put it on your screen. A felony settlement conference is a hearing between an arraignment and a preliminary hearing. Despite the title, it doesn't mean, however, that there will be a settlement, in other words, a plea deal. It goes on to say a felony settlement conference was continued at the request of Jake Haro and his attorneys. No motions have been made other than the continuance by Jake Haro's attorneys to continue. Well, he continues to be represented by the Riverside County Public Defender's Office. They're not commenting in light of these filings and this request for more time before the initial next court appearance, which is going to be the preliminary hearing if it doesn't plea out first. But we are hearing that the mother, Rebecca Haro, is being represented by a very well-known attorney in the area who has a lot of other high-profile cases on his belt, including the Turpin House of Horror case, which I covered when I was an anchor here in Los Angeles, and that also led to a plea deal. Vinny?
Yeah, you've got two defendants, and it just seems that that's where it's moving towards. Matt Johnson doing great work, as always. Thank you so much. That brings us to the next question in our investigation, which is about right now. What is happening in the baby Emanuel case right now as we speak? Here to help with our investigation, host of the Hidden True Crime podcast and YouTube channel, Lauren Mathias, and founder of On the Tira News, Ahmed Beloso. All right. How would you answer this question, Ahmed? What is happening in the case right now?
Well, as he stated earlier, nobody's telling us anything, but I know what my constituents are telling me, and I know where I'm at in this investigation, so I can only speak for myself, if you would like to know where I'm at.
Absolutely. Everyone at home is saying, Vinny, please let him say where he's at right now.
So right now we're focused in on August 7th, 8th, and 9th. We have a definitive location that Jake, in fact, took items on the 7th. And I don't want to say too much because I know more information that I'm saying. The thing is that the police also know what I'm talking about. The public doesn't know because I haven't given them a location. I haven't given them no items. I haven't given them anything other than what we were. It's a very, very tricky situation when you have vital information and you cannot release everything because, one, Jake doesn't know what I have. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And two, he's over there trying to scramble because he doesn't know what evidence we're presenting and because he doesn't know, but he knows he was there at the place we have him on the 7th because he took items and they were brand new items. It was a service store, I guess you could say, right? Where they exchange gift service, not gifts, where they exchange services and blah, 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 right? And so he took this to the store and he gave, they sold these over $700, quite possibly $400 to $700 worth of brand new clothing and apparatuses, meaning bassinets, swings, and everything in pristine condition. So obviously the business owner was over the moon, and so he left, he donated it, they sold everything off the same day. The next day, Jake returned on the 8th, and he asked if he can use their dumpster, and he dropped off some grocery-sized bags in the dumpster, and that is where my investigative services came in and led it to the landfill, right, which is at Lambs Canyon. Now, he went back on the 10th again, and so what he did on the 10th is he donated another gift because they were you all know about the watermen. They were selling their Trump coins at mint condition. And so they know about collectibles. How far advanced they are as far as what they have, I don't know. But he donated another item. And I'm not going to say what it is because obviously whoever bought it, it was in pristine condition and they sold it off. So what he was doing is he was checking his traps, I believe, right? So he went to the 7th to try to butter up the lady. He used her dumpster on the 8th, and then he went back on the 9th to see if anybody had kind of fiddled around,
right,
and which they didn't. The dumpsters in that area go to the landfill on Tuesdays, and the trash cans for the homes go on Thursdays. And so the same dumpster that he used down the street, a block across the street from the sheriff's station, right down Ramona Street, where Emanuel was killed, that same dumpster also goes to that landfill.
Wow.
So now we're piecing everything together, and so now we're
Let's do this. Let's hold that thought for 1 second, Ahmed.
Real quick.
Yeah.
One little more piece, real quick. Now we're figuring out because if Emmanuel died after the 9th, that means it was premeditated murder, and that makes this a circumstance special case.
Oh, absolutely.
And all police got the deal now. Boom.
Absolutely. If you're doing things in preparation for that instead of as a result of. Lauren Mathias, where do you think this investigation, this case is right now?
Oh, thanks, Ahmed. I could listen to you forever talk about that. Tell us more. Tell us more. Where I think it is, I think that Ahmed is nailing it, that we're trying to figure out what date perhaps Emanuel lost his life. It's so heartbreaking, right, that we all sort of know. We all sort of know without the remains of Emanuel what happened to this poor baby. And right now investigators are saying it's between the 5th and the 14th. Well, the 14th is when they, Rebecca and Jake claimed their son was kidnapped. And the 5th, it sounds like, was the last time anybody ever saw Emanuel. And so Ahmed is bringing in this date of like the 7th, the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. That sounds probable. And I think that what we're all worried about right now is the settlement conference that's happening, right? Are they trying to strike a plea deal with these parents? And does that mean that it's possible they might never find these remains, and this is all circumstantial right now, and they need to get these parents to take a plea? That's, I think, my biggest fear right now, and I think that's what everyone is thinking and wondering about right now is if they don't know where this little baby boy is, and if they will never find this baby boy, how strong of a case is this? Yeah. What do we have right now to be able to get a conviction?
It makes it so much more difficult. All right, our guests are going to stick around. Up next, could baby Emanuel have been saved?
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the disappearance of 7-month-old baby Emmanuel Haro. His parents said he was taken by a stranger, but now his mom and dad are charged with murder. Here's the story. The disappearance of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro in Riverside County, California, has shaken the community to its core. At first, his parents pleaded for help, claiming their infant son had vanished without a trace. But as investigators dug deeper, troubling contradictions surfaced, unraveling a chilling reality. Authorities now say Emmanuel's parents, the very people meant to nurture and protect him, are the ones responsible for his disappearance. Both have been arrested, facing murder charges. It's a heartbreaking case marked by allegations of violence, secrecy, and betrayal. The search for Emanuel has become a desperate mission fueled by both hope and grief. A child so young, so vulnerable, ripped from safety under the most unthinkable circumstances. As the investigation continues, the haunting question remains: what happened to baby Emanuel, and will justice finally bring him home?
Emmanuel's father, Jake Haro, has a disturbing history involving another child that was really young, just 10 weeks old. He was convicted of abusing that child. And that issue alone has a lot of people scratching their heads about what is going on here. Take a listen to the DA talking about Jake Haro's history.
It was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emanuel would be alive today. And that's a shame, and it's an outrage. And I hate to say that, but when our criminal justice system breaks down, I'm going to just call it like it is and tell you it broke down. I want to read to you the injuries. The child's name is Carolina. She is still alive today, but she is permanently bedridden. She has permanent damage, cerebral palsy, that is a result of long-term child abuse. I want to read to you the injuries that were presented in court to this judge at the time of that previous prosecution. Acute fracture of the posterior left rib, 5th rib, healing fractures of the posterior lateral 6th, 7th, and 10th through 12th ribs, healing fractures of the 6th and 9th through 12th ribs, partial bone fracture of the skull, brain hemorrhage, significant prevertebral soft tissue swelling of the neck, and a healing tibia fracture of the right leg. This is severe abuse for an infant. And so whatever you think of the criminal justice system and people need a break, someone who does that to a child belongs in prison, period.
You're talking about an extremely young child, like 10 weeks old. And he was convicted of that, but the judge acknowledged giving him a break and a non-custodial sentence with a suspended sentence. That meant he walked out. He did not get locked up. That brings us to the next question in our investigation. Could baby Emanuel have been saved? Did the system not do enough to protect Emanuel? Here to help answer that question, private investigator Lauren Vellucci and former federal prosecutor, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani. Nima, let me begin with you. This was a case where the judge gave a sentence that was lower than what prosecutors asked for in a case where we're talking about a 10-week-old baby being abused. That's a newborn.
Vinny, it's a miscarriage of justice. And if the judge had done his job, maybe baby Emanuel would be alive today. You're talking about a felony child abuse case with really significant lifelong injuries, brain injuries. I mean, the district attorney is absolutely right. The judge issued a suspended sentence, work release, child abuse classes. That's unconscionable. And it really took 5 years to get there. This was abuse that happened in 2018, and we got a sentence in 2023. If Jake Haro were in prison and this was a case with a previous partner, baby Emanuel might not be born. And he wouldn't be in a position to abuse other children. So the DA is right. Everyone who's watching probably is asking, how could this possibly happen? Tremendous miscarriage of justice, and that judge has proverbial blood on his hands because of the decision that he made.
Lauren Vellucci, judges are given discretion. Judges are there to judge, to make the tough calls, but I'm trying to understand how it's a tough call. We talk about child abuse, but I look at this child. This was a baby. This was a child who was not walking. Like, Jake Haro was able to walk out of the courtroom, but his baby daughter will never be able to walk. And then we find now Emanuel is missing, and Emanuel may have in fact had history of being abused. That's what the allegation is. It's like similar to exactly what happened to his sister. Lauren, this is unconscionable.
It really is, and it should have never happened. There's no excuse for the judge to have allowed this man to walk out of that courtroom. But I thought it was refreshing first that the DA was kind of going after the judge. That doesn't happen a lot. And so I was like, oh, this is great. However, I looked into the case more, and not only did the judge mess up and drop the ball, but the DA, Mike Heston, and his prosecuting office, they also seemed to have dropped the ball and just kept kicking the can, because Jake had a probation violation in 2024, which would have vacated his suspended sentence. And their office just kept continuing the hearings 5 times. 5 times they did this. As recent as July 2nd of this year, Jake was in the court for an actual hearing, and they kicked it again down the road. So they could have at any point asked the judge to vacate that sentence and put him back in jail. And I'm sorry, but I have an issue and a big problem with the DA standing up there and trying to gaslight the community and only blaming the judge. The judge absolutely has blood on his hands, but they failed at their job, and they failed this baby as well.
Nima, what are your thoughts there? When these defendants are given opportunities, and I was a prosecutor too, and a lot of times they'd be put on probation. And if you come back here, you're going to jail, is what you always see the judge wagging his finger. But here, there's an allegation of a violation of probation. It's easy to not violate your probation. Like, you have to actually do something wrong to violate it, and apparently he allegedly did. Why would a prosecutor just kick that down the can, kick that down the road? Like, at some point, you got to step in and say, okay, let's. He violated his probation. He attacked a baby who will never walk, and he's still walking free.
No question. And I believe the violation was a firearms violation. Obviously, as a felon, you can't possess a weapon. And like you said, and like Lauren said, I mean, these probation violations, they're actually very easy, these PVs, as we call them. The judge makes the decision. There's no jury. It's a lower standard. It's just the preponderance of the evidence. So you can quickly put someone in custody right away. Now, obviously, that's an offense. Certainly, you can't have a firearm as a felon or someone on probation. So I do agree he should have been held until violated his probation, and he should have been sentenced. So whether it's the judge, whether it's the DA, I do think the judge's initial sentence, given the severity of that crime, was the more egregious violation, right? You have willful cruelty to a child as opposed to felon in possession of a firearm. But I agree. There were multiple opportunities to put this monster behind bars, and whether it was the DA, whether it was the judge, or whether it was law enforcement, everyone failed in this particular case.
Yeah, and if you're going to say, I'm giving you a break, when you break the rules of the break that you're given, you should be locked up. Lauren Vellucci, Nima Rahmani, great to have you both on the program. Great to see you. Incredible insight. Still to come, this is a big question everyone's wondering about. Is Rebecca covering for Jake?
We come to you guys asking you to help us find our son. He was abducted last night from Big 5. Somebody struck my wife while she was trying to change his diaper.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Ray, I just asked you guys if you could help us, you know?
Please.
This is what he looks like. He's just a baby. Just give our son back, please.
That's how this whole story and investigation began. Two parents pleading to the public for help in finding their missing child. They are now locked up, but I want you to take a look at this because it seems that Emmanuel's mother, Rebecca, is very consistent with the story that was told in that initial press conference that Emmanuel had been abducted. Take a look. This is from a jailhouse interview from the Press Enterprise. "I will not give up. I will not give up on my baby," Haro said August 24th in a jailhouse interview with a Southern California news group reporter, during which she maintained that Emmanuel was kidnapped. Regarding her husband, Jake, "He's a good dad," Rebecca Haro said. "He would never hurt a baby." Well, he did because he was convicted of that, but she's saying he never would. What's going on here? What's the dynamic? That brings us to the next question in our investigation. Is Rebecca covering for Jake? Is that possible? They've both been charged in the case, by the way. They've both been charged for what the prosecutor described as ongoing abuse. But is this a case of Rebecca covering for Jake? Here to help with our investigation, host of the Hidden True Crime Podcast and YouTube channel, Lauren Mathias, and the founder of On the Tira News, who's been covering the story in depth from the beginning, Ahmed Balozo. Okay, let me ask you, Lauren, what are your thoughts here? Do you think there's a chance that she could be covering for him?
My personal opinion, right here, from what I've seen covering this case, yes. I think she is covering for Jake Haro, and it goes back to the fact that there's one common denominator when it comes to not just one now, but two charges, one conviction of abuse against an infant, a baby. And that is Jake Haro. He didn't know Rebecca the first time this happened when he was convicted of doing this to his daughter. And now he's done this again, allegedly, according to the charges. And that is the common denominator in this. I think she absolutely could be covering for him. She also has a black eye. We've all wondered, where did she get that black eye if it wasn't from the guy that said, hola, right? Where did she get it? Could it have been Jake? Could it have been Jake? That's where my mind goes.
Yeah, that's a huge part of this. Initially, when we saw the black eye, we were like, oh, it was the hola guy, but the timing might not have necessarily worked out there if she had it beforehand. Ahmed, what are your thoughts here about mom and dad, Rebecca and Jake? Because they've both been charged. It's an allegation of ongoing abuse. But do you have anything that leads you to believe that she may be covering for him, who has a prior conviction of abuse against a child?
Well, she already started off her story saying hola, and she's saying that Jake would never hurt a child, when, as you said, he's been convicted of actually doing that. And not only once, but multiple times now, we know. And so she's just as disturbed as him. You can see the distant look in her eye. I'm not believing it for a second. I think she still loves him. I think she's absolutely covering up for him. And that's just what, not only my opinion, I think that's what we all think. I'll say it. And not only that, these women, there's abused women. You can see she's abused. And he's the abuser. And she's probably comes, who knows how far along she's been abused. So we don't know how far in her own whatever she's dealing with, but I know that the woman I see, she's standing by her man, and I don't know if he's standing with her, but I think that she very much is still in love with him, and is clear by her statements. So yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Lauren, I was thinking, how does this translate into the ongoing case, right? And when you have two defendants, so many times one will turn on the other. The first one there gets the deal, not the second one. And I was thinking, well, who has what story to tell? And to me, it came back to the black eye, just like you. Like, if she has a story to tell that she is also a victim of his, then I could see prosecutors thinking about giving her a deal. regardless of what evidence that they have, if they believe that she suffered from abuse and then has some mitigating explanation for what happened here, I'm wondering what she thought when she heard that Jake was out with detectives searching for Emmanuel. That, to me, was a very interesting move by investigators, and I'm wondering what her reaction to that may have been, because it seems she's still standing by him.
I've wondered the exact same thing. Did that make her nervous? Of course, interestingly enough, after Jake was spotted out there helping investigators, we then heard an interview from him from behind bars. And in that, he was saying what a good mother she was and that she would never do this. And so at that moment, we all thought, after we saw him searching with investigators, oh, he's going to throw her under the bus, just like we all predicted, suspected, here we go. But then he gives this behind bars interview where he says, nope, she didn't have anything to do with it either. And was that manipulation, or was that a pact, or what was this? But this is not going, I don't think, the way that those of us watching this thought it would go. I thought that they would break a lot faster, honestly, and that one would turn on the other. And they are sort of standing by their stories. Or, I mean, we don't know what investigators have, right? From what it looks like, from what we can see on the outside looking in, no one is exactly turning right now, but will they? And when it comes to Rebecca, this is what I think happened. She said, I was on the floor. When she explained Ola guy originally, I was on the floor. I was knocked unconscious, and then Emanuel was gone. I'm going to get a little bit into my own thoughts on this. I think that's maybe exactly what happened, that she was knocked on the floor. It just wasn't by a guy saying Ola. Yeah. It was somebody else.
Ahmed, we have about 20 seconds or so left here. Is anyone from her family speaking out? Because sometimes that's where the pressure comes from, right? Like her mother, her sister, or someone who would come forward and say, just tell police what happened here.
Well, as I said, I don't know what Rebecca's thinking, because I don't even tripping on her. And we don't know if Jake took the cops down there. For all we know, the cops took Jake down there, because I never seen Jake pointing. And not only that, I have a recording from an actual witness that I haven't shared yet. And the police know who she is. And I'm not going to share it, because it's all going to come out in the soap, homie. And I'm not even tripping on Rebecca right now. She's going to get her deal, but she's going to get life without. That's going to be her deal.
All right. Big thank you, Lauren Mathias, Hidden True Crime, Ahmed Belozo on the Tira. We appreciate it. We'll see you again soon. You know, it seems the only way this little baby will be found is if mom or dad talk, if they know, right? But to me, the real frustrating part is law enforcement discouraging the public from looking. This is a community that is greatly invested and one that would take up the cause. And I'm not sure if law enforcement has the resources to be the only ones looking. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.
There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.